Do you want the best possible performance in Star Citizen, but you don't want to build a PC yourself? Well, introducing SCPC.STORE. Star Citizen has always had a performance problem. It's unlike any other game. It pushes PCs in very strange ways. And the whole point of this YouTube channel has been to help people get the best performance in the game that they can. Over the last 5 years, I've tested, and I went back and checked this, 26 CPUs, 32 GPUs, 16, 32 and 64 gigabytes of RAM, different storage configurations from hard drives, don't do a hard drive, to RAID, all sorts of stuff. If you have a question about Star Citizen performance, you should be able to find an answer on this channel, or at least come over to the Discord, and there are lots of amazing, wonderful people over there who will help you out. Now, I personally love this stuff. I love building PCs. I love trying out different hardware, and I know that a lot of you guys who watch this channel also love it. But I'm also fully aware that not everyone has the time or desire to build their own machine. Some people just want to buy something and get on with playing. And that's where SCPC comes in. I've been working on a machine that people can buy that will run Star Citizen and Squadron 42 pretty much as well as possible. If you're currently running around the persistent universe wishing Star Citizen would actually run like a normal game, well, the SCPC will mostly solve that for you. And I say mostly because there are still parts of the game that no matter what you throw at it, they still don't run that well. But that's down to CIG to do some optimization. So in this video, I'm going to go through the machine, why I've chosen the different parts, and I'll show you some performance numbers. But I also want to explain why I'm doing this now and give you some behind the scenes insight into how I plan to run this thing. And hopefully how this whole thing will actually lead to a better YouTube channel for all of us wanting to know how different components perform in Star Citizen. First, let's go on the website and go through the PC. So here is the website, SCPC.STORE. It's a pretty simple website. I've never built a website before, so we've kept it straightforward, and let's go through what is going on with this PC. So obviously, lots of pictures, look through the pictures. The key thing maybe is to talk about the parts, and then we'll look at performance in a second. So the CPU, as you might guess, is going to be the 9800 XUD. I've tested this CPU. I've been using it myself for a while now. It's very, very impressive. It's generally kind of accepted as the best gaming CPU out there right now. And for Star Citizen, out the box, it's the easiest way to get really, really good performance. So very good. The motherboard is a Gigabyte Aorus Stealth Ice. Now, what does that mean? It is one of these fancy back connecting motherboards. So you look here, you can see all the connections. So all the motherboard and CPU and all the power stuff is all on the back side. And so that means it's a lot easier for me to build the thing, but also it hides most of the cables behind the thing. So there's more information here. You can look at it and all the stats on the actual motherboard itself, but it's very clean. I think it looks really, really cool. So I am a big fan of the motherboard itself. We have gone for the 5070 Ti, and why have I chosen this one? So recently I tested this and the 5080 and the 9070 XT, and because of the prices in the UK at least, the 5070 Ti probably looks like the best option. The AMD card just is too high above MSRP at this point to really be recommended, because the 5070 Ti is a fair bit ahead. And so that's what I've gone for this model. This really is recommended for 1440p. I think in the future I'll probably offer an option with the 5080 that's kind of more suited for 4K, but as you'll see in a minute when we go through the performance numbers, this actually does perform pretty well at 4K anyway. So that's why I've gone for the 5070 Ti. The RAM, we've gone for 48 gigabytes. And the reason for that is I recently tested the 32 versus 64 gigabytes in that video. And although 32 gigabytes is enough now, and if you've got nothing else really running in the background, it kind of works fine. Once you have a few things running, maybe Discord, a few tabs, whatever open, you do start to lose a little bit of performance. And so there's no real need to go all the way up to 64. There's no point, but to give 48 to this PC just means that it's completely future-proofed and you don't have to worry about RAM. And yeah, it won't use all that for now. And I hope Star Citizen never uses 48 gigabytes of RAM. I don't think it will, but it just means you've got plenty of headroom for RAM. It's also, unlike most pre-built and kind of custom PCs where you look at all the specs, they all look fine, but actually when you dig in, normally people skimp on the the speed and of the timings of the RAM, but this is fast, CO30, 6000 megahertz RAM. So basically the ideal RAM setup for a 9800 XUD. Got a couple of terabytes of M.2 in there, the Samsung, and if you come all the way down here, you can see that there's a couple more slots if you want to drop in more M.2 drives in the future. The whole thing does support PCIe Gen 5, and so for the GPU, that means that the GPU is running absolutely as fast as it can. The top M.2 drive is also Gen 5, but I haven't bothered putting one in because it makes no difference to Star Citizen performance, and it would just cost a lot more. So it's just a Gen 4 drive in there for now. We have got a 1000 watt power supply so that you just don't have to worry really about that. It means it's overkill for this system as it currently is. It doesn't really need a 1000 watt PSU, but if you decide you want to chuck in a faster graphics card that is way more power hungry in the future, you've got the option to do that. And it's also a side connecting motherboard. It's this Corsair Shift one where they've put all of the connections on the side, so it's just much easier to reconfigure. So if you ever want to add in more things, or I'm going to send you all the cables that come with it, so you've got all the options, you can very easily just pop them in and then route the cables. So it is very handy to build with, and for you as well. Plenty of connections, all the USB stuff, you can check that out there. How will this PC arrive? That's probably worth explaining, because it's a bad idea if I send this to you with the GPU installed, because you do not want your GPU wobbling in the post. You don't want it just to snap basically off in the PCIe slot. So the GPU will be in the box. It will have the anti-sag bracket thing that you can see running down the side. You'll also have all the power supply cables, like I said, some SATA cables. You'll have the Wi-Fi antennae. You'll have all the stuff that you need, but you'll just need to install the GPU. And we'll talk about this now whilst we're covering this. I will basically, because I'm not planning to sell many of these at all, it's going to be really limited. I will personally be your tech support person for a couple of years. If you want to talk through how to install that GPU, or updating the BIOS, or making sure the RAM is running at full speed, or anything like that, message me on Discord, and then we can either just chat on Discord or organize a video call or something. I will help you, because the point again behind this, I know a lot of people who watch this channel, you're more than happy to build your own PC, but this is for people who just want to buy something and not have to worry about all the kind of ins and outs. And so I will help you with anything that you need help with. That's the plan. And like I said, the 5070 Ti is the option that I'm doing for now. In the future, I think, yeah, 5080 for a more 4K build makes some sense. But also there is a black version of this case with fans as well that some people might prefer. So at some point I might do a black version, and then also probably quite a sensible thing to do would be to sell a version without a GPU, because a lot of you will have a decent GPU and really you just need to upgrade your RAM and your CPU and things like that. So I think selling a version that doesn't come with the GPU will make some sense, but we'll do that in the future. And for now, this is going to be UK only. I want to start off in the UK because I just want to get going, work out any teething issues. Shipping and stuff is complicated when you're going across the sea and things like that. So yeah, we'll keep it straightforward and start the UK. But if you are from a different country, pop your email into the waitlist and then you'll get notified once they are shipping further afield. Performance wise, let's have a look at this at 1440p. I've basically gone through a load of different scenes in the game and shown you DLSS on, DLSS off, different things. Very high clouds. This GPU is powerful enough to use very high clouds. You're getting great performance on the Horizon roof here. In quantum travel, perfect either with DLSS quality or without at 1440p. You could do whatever you want. When you're in space, when inside the cockpit, it's worth saying that different ships perform differently. So the Aurora, because it's got quite a few MFDs, is it's actually pretty brutal on performance. But you're still getting plenty of performance here. But then if you go to the external view at 1440p, crazy frames. Checkmate. This used to perform horribly when the CRG first released 4.0, but CRG have done a good job of optimizing, and so we're hovering around the 60 FPS mark here at 1440p. And actually, you can see that the GPU isn't the bottleneck; it's actually still on the CPU/memory bandwidth stuff. Next, we've got this scene above Pyro 1, the clouds, very high clouds still. You could drop them if you wanted more frames. We are basically maxing out here. The GPU, we're now down on the planet at an outpost and getting lots of frames, over 100 frames. So any FPS stuff like this, the more frames the merrier. Space combat mission at 1440p, got DLSS quality on still here, but loads of frames. And again, in my experience, it does help. Better performance really does help in terms of your combat skills. It helps you fighting the game and also fighting other players. So yeah, I think over 100 FPS is very nice here. Contested zones as well, another area of the game that used to be horrible. So when this first came out, getting 100 frames would be impossible. But now it's looking pretty decent. CIG have done a good job. And yeah, you can see that actually it's not the GPU at all here that's bottleneck. GPU is only at 60-odd%. And then Lorville. Now, this is basically the hardest part of the game. This particular scene here, when you come out of the hubs, you come down here and you just run this bit here. It might be to do with the clouds. You drop here at 1440p below 50 FPS, but it's mostly the CPU. I think that's probably the issue. But then when you go back inside, you're getting over 70, around the 70 FPS mark, which again, if you told me that a few years ago, that you'd be able to perform like this in Lorville, I wouldn't have believed you. The 9800 HDD is really something quite special. It really has taken things to another level, and so performance in Lorville is looking pretty good. At 4K, we'll do the same thing. It's got all the same scenes. Again, you can see here at 4K, without DLSS, with very high clouds, you're getting 40 FPS, and that's why I would say it's not quite enough for native 4K, but with DLSS on, you've got a pretty good performance at 75 FPS. Quantum travel, again, at 4K itself, without upscaling, 50 FPS, not ideal, but with upscaling, it's great. Just sitting in space, plenty, and then again, if you go to the external view, silly frames that you'll probably never need. Checkmate. This is pretty brutal still on the GPU at 4K, but turn on DLSS quality, and you're now not on the GPU really, you're more on the CPU, but it's still not the best optimized part of the game. And then those clouds again above Pyro 1, again, 4K DLSS quality on here, very high clouds, performing really well. And you could in theory drop the clouds if you wanted more performance. You have got great performance in space, again, still around the 100 FPS mark, really, with DLSS quality on at 4K. Nothing to complain about there. Contested zones still hovering around the 90, so it's still pretty good performance at 4K with DLSS quality. And again, if you get into any firefights, that does really help. And then you've got Lorville again. Now that first bit, we come out here with Lorville, you can see at 4K, it's heavy. This is heavy. We're maxing out the GPU really, and you can see that we're dropping below 40 FPS in this particular bit. It might be the clouds that's making a bit of a difference there, or maybe just having to render the whole of Lorville as you kind of look out. But again, once you come inside, things are looking pretty good again. And again, with DLSS quality on, it's a pretty impressive performance at 4K. I wouldn't probably be complaining at all. I personally would be happy to play with this system at 4K, but for some people, you might potentially want to look more at the 5080. Let's just quickly talk about RGB. Now, it's obviously a controversial topic, RGB. Some people hate all the flashy lights, all the craziness. Some people love it. Me personally, I tend to like this. I tend to just leave one color on and just leave it there. Maybe have an accent on the motherboard. I don't really like all the craziness, all the flashy madness. But if you want to do that, you're more than welcome. And I suppose it's worth saying that we're using Corsair's IQ software to do all this, and it's not particularly well liked. It's not, the reputation online isn't great. I personally wanted to test this out and I wanted to give it a good go. So I've had this system for over 6 months, and for me, I've had no issues. I don't know whether that's because I'm using all the latest hardware, the latest fans. I don't know. I don't know whether I've just had no issues because of that. I have been constantly on the Corsair Reddit, and it seems as though the company themselves are really trying to get things working well. They're constantly pushing things forward, getting feedback and things like that. So I guess what I'm saying is I've had no issues, and I'm happy to basically try and sell this with Corsair's IQ software, because for me it's been working great. The motherboard and the GPU, the kind of accents, they'll be controlled by some Gigabyte utility. that's fairly straightforward. The reason why I've really gone with all this is because I want it to be straightforward. This PC is for people who don't want to fiddle around in the BIOS, mess around with colors. They probably want to do it in Windows itself. And so it's pretty straightforward, and it just allows you to very quickly tweak things and get things working. So that is why we've gone with that. The case itself is the 3500X from Corsair. I think it's a really good looking case. I like the look of it a lot. I like the glass on the front and the side. It's not a dual chamber case, so there isn't like a big thing behind it. You can see obviously that the power supply and everything is hidden under this kind of shroud thing here. And so it isn't really wide. One of the things I don't like about dual chamber cases, as I kind of research what to use here, I don't like how wide they are. They take up a huge amount of space. And so this is really only a little bit wider than a kind of standard mid-tower case. And so I just really like it. I think it looks really cool. I think it's a nice looking case. All the fans are Corsair's latest RX fans, which in the past Corsair's fans haven't been, they've looked fine, but the amount of air they were pushing wasn't great, but these actually have been pretty well reviewed. And so things stay nice and cool and quiet. And so the AIO 360 is probably overkill in some ways for the 9800 XUD. It doesn't run that hot, but things stay nice and quiet and cool, which is what you want. Now, I'd love to explain some of my thought process. I want to talk about why I'm launching this now and give some behind the scenes numbers about how the YouTube channel is going, and talk about some of the lessons from the whole Predator mount situation that you might have seen. I made a video about that earlier in the year. Why am I doing this now? Now, I don't make much money from YouTube. I ultimately need to come up with a way to make this thing a little bit more sustainable. The members massively help, and I want to say thank you to all of you guys, as the people who do the super chats and do the super thanks sometimes, but the videos themselves don't really make much money. I recently had one video about CryEngine and Chris's choice to go with that. That did really, really well, surprisingly well. It's got about 150,000 views and it's made just under £400. It's not bad, obviously, but I think it's probably a helpful lesson for me that even if suddenly all the videos started hitting 50,000 views, which they won't, if that happened though, it still probably wouldn't be enough to make the channel really work. A better example is probably the 9070 XT video. That again did pretty well, got 20,000 views, and it made 50 odd pounds. And when you consider that that GPU cost me £579, well, yeah, you can see that I'm ultimately losing money. My wife and kids are very understanding about this very strange hobby that I have, but ultimately, after 5 years, I just can't really justify the money I'm spending. And again, one day, maybe Star Citizen hits the mainstream and loads of people are looking for information about what PC parts they should buy. But even then, I don't think YouTube AdSense money is going to be enough. But it is worth saying that this isn't a cash grab. I'm not looking to flog loads and loads of these and then just blow all the profit on spaceships. I'm really just looking to make the channel break even. If I can sell a few of these a year, it should allow me to test more parts on the channel, which is good for you and good for me. I ultimately just love doing this thing. I love testing parts. I love testing GPUs, CPUs, and I'm so grateful for all the encouraging comments that I get. And I just really want to keep testing Star Citizen and performance stuff for as long as people want that information. And so I'm not looking to become a YouTube millionaire anytime soon. I want to scale very, very slowly. So I want to learn some lessons from the Predator mount situation. Some of you may have seen that video that I put out earlier this year about Predator mounts. I had an affiliate link with them, but then all of a sudden, the owner just disappeared. Many orders hadn't been fulfilled and still haven't been fulfilled. And overall, it's a pretty awful situation. Nobody really knows what happened, but the thing that I took from it was continuing to sell something when you have a huge backlog of orders is a terrible idea. And so with SCPC, I'm going to sell in very small batches. I'm going to start by selling just a few and then see where things go from there. I'll need a little bit of time for each machine to order the parts, build, and then ship the thing. But I don't want people to be waiting for ages once they've decided to buy. Once the orders are all sorted and everything's done, I'll then put up another batch on the website. If I get into a good groove with this, then maybe I'll increase the amount that I'm selling. But like I said before, this isn't a cash grab. I want to build something that's sustainable, that I can manage, and also that has happy customers. I'd love your feedback in the comments, even from those of you who've got no interest actually in the PC itself. I know so many of you can build your own PC and will have got your own stuff already. I'd still love feedback. If you're looking to buy one of these things, feel free to email any questions to info@scpc.store. I can get back to you any questions you've got. That'd be great. I've got genuinely no idea how this is all going to pan out. It could be a complete non-starter. If nobody buys this first machine, well, my wife is going to be pretty unhappy. So hopefully at least one of you is interested. Thank you though for all of the support over the last nearly 5 years. All the people who watch the channel, comment, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. All the people on Discord, thank you so much to the people who answer questions. It's just amazing over there. And again, the members, thank you so much to the members. The fact that anybody wants to support this channel with money blows my mind. It really does mean a lot to me. So there we go, scpc.store. Let me know what you think.